A straight line PQ of length 120 mm inclines 30 degrees with HP, 45 degrees with VP. The line length of PQ also has been given. Draw the projections if its midpoint is 45 mm above the HP, 60 mm in front of the VP. So what the change you are observing here? In the previous all the problems we are used to get the details with respective end point. So one of the end point your position with respect to you draw the remaining line length with a given inclination. But here the line length completely given. So straight problem only is asking front view and top view to be drawn for the line, but compared to the details, in the previous case the endpoint details has been given, here the change is giving draw the projections if its midpoint is 45 mm above the HP and 60 mm in front of the VP. Same procedure, but with the given condition only we can proceed. So whenever the inclination with both the planes, what we did the same assumption 1, assumption 2. Here also, since it is inclined with HP and inclined with VP, you have to take the problem by the two assumption. The first assumption is parallel to VP. In the second assumption, you have to take assumption parallel to HP. The same, but instead of the end point, so given information with the midpoint has details has to be posted in the problem. If I just follow the rules what we just now discussed by simply apply with respect to given point, automatically you will get the answer. So for primary thing, what the thing you need? I had to draw XY reference line, same as the earlier case I am drawing XY reference. After drawing the XY reference line, above is the vertical plane area, below is the horizontal plane. Now take the midpoint details has been given. What are the midpoint details given? First assumption. What the first assumption we can make? Parallel to VP. Whenever parallel to VP, once I decide the VP projection, that means I have to draw the front view. I have to take the details of horizontal plane. What are the horizontal plane details? It is 30 degrees and 45 mm above the HP. So from any point, I am measuring 45 mm. This is the midpoint located. Since this is a M dash being given as a front view point. Draw the reference line, but because I have to identify the angle mean I have to place the protractor with the origin line reference. So now from the midpoint I have to locate the line length. So what are the line length given? 120 mm. So 120 mm midpoint mean. So what is the length to be considered on either direction? Half of the 120 mean how much? 60 mm. So what is the angle here? 30 degrees. Along the angular direction 30. So how much length to be considered? Half distance. Why? Because we are referred from midpoint. So this is the midpoint mean I have to take the half of the distance here. Being it is a straight line, the remaining length to be stretched back. This is the line. So this is of 30 degrees. Now the same thing, we know that front view top view is always in a same line. So the respective point has to be confirmed onto the other side. Front view top view always in a same line. So based on that concept, M dash you are identified. So M to be identified along this line only. Along this line where? So why? Because once you are moved to the top view is the details of VP. So what the VP details we are having? It is 60 mm in front of VP. So measure 60 mm here and I have to locate the point. This is the 60 mm point. Since M dash, this will be point M. So at M you have to draw respective view only. So what the respective view? We are saying that is the assumption parallel to VP. So this is the M dash. I am saying the PQ mean this will be P dash. This will be Q dash. M dash mean I are able to get the M with respect to parallel to VP. Where I will get the Q point? Q point must be on the line of Q dash. So just I am drawing a projector line from here. From M, I have to draw the line parallel here. This point will be respect to Q. To get the complete line, same line. So let's take it being the half length, midpoint length given, I am carrying with respect to the only half length we are considering. This is the front view of that one. Corresponding, we can say this is the top view length of. Why? Because we are respect of midpoint, so respect to the midpoint I am taking. So when there is a midpoint I am taking the one end, how much distance? Only the half the portion with the respect to we are taking. Next take the second assumption. It has to be parallel to HP. Whenever parallel to HP, top view is the actual length. So once I decide the top view, you have to take the details of VP. So what the VP details we are having? 60 mm in front, already taken the 60 mm in front. So next other details VP is 45 degrees inclination. So being the angular dimension, take the protractor. So now place with the origin reference. So measure 45 degrees. So how the 45 degrees angle to be measured? The since 0, 10, 20, 30, 45. So along the 45 direction, so what the length to be taken? Of the length only to be considered. We are taking this as the 120 mm. So 120 mm of mean 60 mm. In the angular direction, I have to take 60 mm. Of 60 mm we are taking, since it is a straight line, I can extend remaining 60 mm further side. And the corresponding other points, let it may be P1, it may be Q1. After that, what I need, what we did in the just before problems, so whenever the actual lengths are given with actual inclination, we are taking the assumption. So once here with the assumption, I represent the first assumption, I am finding the top view. With the second assumption, I am supposed to find the front view length. How will draw the front view length? From this Q dash point, I have to draw the line until the initial point. If I extend it, so this can I represent it as, this is front view length. Since Q1, you can represent as a Q1 dash. So now after that, what we did, we drawn the locus of endpoint. So how the locus of endpoint to be? With the assumption true length, at the endpoint you have to draw the locus line. So at this endpoint, I could draw the locus line of the plane. I am drawing here locus of end plane. But you have to think one thing. In the previously all the problems we are taken the end point as a 1. So how many end points are getting? First end we are taking as a consideration. Means second we are having the only one end point. But here what happens here? We are taking the point of reference as a midpoint. Compared to the midpoint, how many end points we are having? Here is the one end. Others also we are having the end. So that means how we are getting the locus line here for the end plane. The same for the other end point also we will get a locus of the plane. So you have to draw here also locus of end plane to represent other end. Similarly, other case, I have to draw the locus line here. Since we are having the other end also, I have to draw the one more locus line at other side. Of the same procedure, what we did in the middle. Take the compass, now top view length as the radius. You have to draw the arc until it touches the locus line. On the locus line. This I may represent as a Q2. So now you are getting the Q2. So how to get the corresponding top view? You have to join this Q2 with respect to the initial contact point. So by joining this one, what I could get? I am getting only the top view for the off portion. Since it is a straight line, to get the complete, I have to extend back. So now this is the complete top view. Since it is a Q2, this I may get the P2. Once you are getting the one view, I can get the other side also. Other side you will get the other view. How we are getting? We know the fundamental concept, front view, top view always in the same line. So based on that concept, I can simply draw the line from this end to that end. Otherwise, you can proceed by the compass also. How we are did the top view length as the radius, I can just proceed front view length as the radius and I can just draw until it touches here. So once you are touched here, I am connecting, you can check here also. Both are coming on a same line. So you can cross check that line like that also. Just I am drawing. So this is nothing but Q2 dash. Now we can join this point with the midpoint consideration and it has to be extended. This midpoint is only off length. To get the complete length, you have to extend until the further stage. Now you can check here, both are meeting. You can check here, both are meeting. So that means your solution is very perfect. So that's why in the examination, if there is any error in these stages, you may not align perfectly. So for that one, you could do the right way. So just do the any one of the view. We know that fundamental concept, front view, top view always in the same line. So from the Q2, draw a line until the locus line. We can mark that as a Q2 dash. Just connect. So where you are getting is the P2 dash. So like that you have to proceed to represent the solution. So if you know the fundamental things, what are the things you need to find mean? While you are drawing the front view, you have to keep in mind you are going to the projection on the vertical plane, details of horizontal plane. So once you are decided to draw the top view is nothing but projection on the horizontal plane, details of the vertical plane. Whenever it is parallel, respective dimensions are the true length. So front view, top view always comes in the same line. If you know these four concepts, I can adapt whatever the problem given very comfortably I can do. So what the advantage of the lines problem in? Already you check the unit 1 problems. So what the how much time you take for the ellipse construction or hyperbola construction? It takes a lot of time, and if you are not control your artistic, you may not representation also good. Here everything you are drawing by using the scales only. So very systematically you can represent very neat diagram. Majorly you can finish the solutions very faster rate. If you understand the problem correctly, within 15 minutes including dimensions, I can complete the solution part. Please don't forget to give the dimension part also. If you show the dimension, so that only end of our solution representation. So but dimensioning mean you need not to show all the dimensions, everything, what the things you are find on the chart. You have to take care only the information given in the problem. So what the information as given in the problem? Midpoint details as given. How much? 45 mm above, 60 mm in front. So that's all. You have to just show only such dimensions only. You need not to touch other things what were not necessary. So here given the midpoint details. So since it is 45 mm above and it is 60 mm in front. So after that, the line segment, how much line segment given? The total length of the dimension has been given as 120 mm. You have to show that one. You have to show only the dimension part which is given in the problem. So need not to be mentioned all other things unnecessarily. But you must show what are the dimensions has been given compulsory. So this is of 120 mm line length you have to show. Being the midpoint located. So midpoint is nothing but at a distance of half the distance. So I can show if you are interested. This one of how much? 60 mm is the half length. So like that, but one thing to just only to make your representation of the clarity, we are using the sketch pen so that every line you are getting as a dark equivalent. But whenever using the any solution, the first unit also we have stressed so many times what has been given and what is the solution and dimension. These three things must be represented carefully as a visible highlighted. So use HB pencil. Remaining all others we have to use very light lines by using the 2H pencil. Draw the very lines. So in this case, given this line and solution this line, dimensioning this part. So these things should be drawn clearly with HB. The remaining lines, what are the remaining lines here? This projector lines, this arcs, this locus ends, this locus end and this arc and this projector line. This every reference line other than the contribution for these things you have to draw very light. So by seeing your drawing itself, the other person or examination evaluator to catch this is the solution. Like that you have to present it so that you can score the maximum marks. So then only you can just contribute good drawing work also. So every time please keep in mind usage of pencils is very important, equally how the solution is right.